Confluence is a great tool for teams to create massive amounts of useful content. But how do you make sure it's easily searchable? Well, you do that by following some best practices to ensure that Confluence pages and spaces are set up to be found quickly and easily. Hi, I'm Matt with K15T, and I'm going to talk to you about finding and using keywords, naming pages with timestamps, the magic of prefixes, creating structures with hierarchies, and keeping your content structure clean. Smart App Project. When naming a page, always think to yourself, how would somebody search for this content in Confluence? And then use those assumptions to create a really great page title. Keywords are especially important to consider as they help Confluence determine how relevant a page actually is. Remember, we need to name our pages in the same way we think users are actually going to search for them. So now, if I search for Smart App Project, there it is, beautiful. And just a tip, before settling on a page name, run a preliminary search for your keywords in Confluence to make sure your new page is going to show up with the same results you think people would group it in their minds. Nobody enjoys it when they spend a bunch of time reading a Confluence page and then discover it's outdated and no longer relevant. Adding a timestamp to a Confluence page title can help avoid this issue so that users can tell just how relevant something actually is. Timestamps also help avoid that pesky problem of not being able to duplicate your page titles in the same space, so that's a win-win. And of course, this technique should only be applied for time-bound content. For example, maybe specific projects or campaigns that run for a month or for a quarter. At K15T, we use timestamps in our page titles to help differentiate the number of planning pages that we have. Here are some examples and formats we use for each. Weekly team updates, project or marketing campaigns, planning pages for recurring meetings or events, and quarterly product or team roadmaps. Smart App Project. There it is. We found that the 2-digit year, 2-digit month structure works really well for us, especially with our international team, but you might find a structure that works better for your team. What's most important is that your organization finds and agrees on a consistent structure. You need everybody to understand how to use timestamps so everybody can navigate these pages really well. We really like using prefixes to group related pages. This is like when you put a little bit of text at the beginning of a page title just to make it more identifiable. This is particularly helpful when searching for content. Like, for example, if I search for getting started, I get a lot of results here. This doesn't really help narrow my search, but check out what happens if I add DSG for Design Style Guide. I instantly see the thing I'm actually looking for right at the top of the results. That is brilliant. But of course, I can use this even further. So all of my pages for the Design Style Guide have DSG in them. So I can search for just that to find all the content in the whole guide. That's pretty awesome. Here are some examples of how we use prefixes on our page titles at K15T. One example is each of our apps have 3 to 4 letter abbreviations like VPRT for Scroll Viewport or PDF for Scroll PDF Exporter. We use those a lot. Also for recurring events or meetings, we have common prefixes that we use. So like the weekly update is abbreviated WUP. We use that one. Or for larger projects, we'll give a unique prefix that is spelled out on the parent page, like Documentation Style Guide, and then we abbreviate it on all the child pages, DSG. Just like with timestamps, your organization should agree on a prefix structure you can widely understand in the context of how you're using it. And this could be abbreviations for your products or your project names. It could be coming up with acronyms that people can easily understand. Just whatever you do, avoid technical jargon at all cost. We're gonna get it started right now. That is a huge page title. Wow, that is like massive. Now, yeah, I can check out the whole page title here in the preview, but that's not great for skimming through the hierarchy. And whenever possible, use short and unique page titles, unlike this one. This is really important in those deeper page hierarchies where pages are nested at multiple levels and the page tree and the page titles start to get cut off. In these scenarios, page prefixes can help keep your page titles short and unique, but still really informative and identifiable. Beautiful. A lot of teams use page hierarchies in Confluence to replicate the kind of folder structure that you might find in other content management systems. That's cool. I dig it. Just make sure your team is aware of the purpose of the whole parent-child relationship and how to use that to group similar content. For example, commonly created or repetitive pages like meeting notes or your team's lunch and learn pages, those should be nested under a single parent page. And then if there's a page hierarchy that works well for your team, try to replicate that exact same structure in other areas of your Confluence instance. This helps to create consistency in your space and supports users as they navigate through the page tree. Over time, this also helps enforce expectations about where content lives and how to navigate your spaces. Oh yeah, another handy tip. If you use the page properties macro on all the child pages in the hierarchy, you can use the page property report macro to bubble up a bunch of handy information from those pages without having to dig into them. That's a pretty sweet time saver, my friends. Maintaining a great Confluence system requires constant vigilance from the team. Set aside time to review the content in your space, delete or archive obsolete stuff, and move pages around to maintain the structure that you want. If you're a site admin, maybe set up rituals around maintaining your space. At K15T, we promote a few individuals as space gardeners on each team. These people enforce the space structures and the page naming conventions. They check out that content is up to date, and they archive pages when they become irrelevant. So, there are lots of ways to keep your content searchable and navigable, and it really makes that little search box shine. Using keywords, timestamps, hierarchies, prefixes, and regular cleanup, your team can maintain a space that anybody could be proud of. And with these techniques, we at K15T have turned our Confluence into the single source of all our knowledge and collaboration. So if anybody's like, where is something? They instinctively search Confluence. But we'd love to hear from you. What has your team done to power up Confluence search? What have you done to make it easier to find stuff in Confluence? Let us know in the comments below. Now, there are so many other great ways to use Confluence, and at K15T, we're always searching for ways to make it more helpful. So hit that subscribe button, share this video with another team who's trying to find stuff in Confluence, and I will see you for another video as we continue to explore using Confluence to share what you do best.